whale strikes did happen, and there were angry whales that would pursue boats of whalers when they were out hunting them to take them down. Hi, I'm Jim Delgado. I'm a maritime archaeologist and historian. I've been in the business for 45 years and worked on over 100 shipwreck investigations. Today we're going to be looking at shipwrecks in movies and TV and judge how real they are.
Lost. Not gone.
Didn't happen. It's pure Hollywood. We're talking about Magellan's ships. Fernando Magallanes, or Ferdinand Magellan as he was called, went out into the Pacific in the early 16th century. He starts out with 5 ships, and basically one gets home. The wrecks that were left behind, one went up on a beach and was burned. The other one sank. So discovering a ship from Magellan in an underground cave in the Philippines ain't gonna happen.
Clothes.
Those clothes would have been, first off, not even still in a barrel. They would not have retained any smell, but there's more to it that also just makes me go, oh yeah, right. They're sitting in a cave, it's open, rain's gonna get in there, and dry rot is gonna set in real fast. The fact that you still have sails intact after 400 years, no. That you have the wood intact, that you can walk around, no.
Here's your gold you've been looking for. You happy now?
Oh no. I've only worked on one wreck, and we found a tiny little bag of 58 silver coins. This myth of shipwrecks having treasure has been disastrous for archaeology. We know more about ancient Roman wrecks, for example, than we do about the ships from this time period because everybody thinks they're full of treasure, and treasure hunters have just torn them apart in the past. That drives me crazy. I'd give this a 1 out of 10 just for the eye candy.
Okay, take her up and over the bow rail.
The submersibles are real. They're the Mir 1 and the Mir 2. They're no longer working, but I've dived in those subs. I was part of an expedition in 2000, and I came back as chief scientist. We completely mapped all of Titanic on the outside. These subs are 6 feet in diameter, nickel steel, really thick. Those tiny little portholes are set in, made of thick lucite, because you have to withstand 6,000 pounds per square inch pressure. This gives you a sense of just what the pressure is. This is an ordinary styrofoam cup that I brought down in a mesh bag tied to the outside of the sub. This full-scale styrofoam cup was made this small and this tough by 6,000 pounds per square inch pressure. That's real footage. So, in making the movie, Cameron's actually explored a great deal of Titanic, and those things that dangle down, we see them on deepwater metal wrecks. They're called rusticles, but it's not really a process of corrosion. There's a bacteria that lives down there called Titanica halimoni that was discovered on the wreck, and it actually eats the metal. Titanic is slowly being eaten, but it's not going to go away anytime soon. The scientists that we've worked with estimate that there will still be a recognizable hull of Titanic for hundreds of years.
That's Hockley's bed.
This brings back a lot of memories. Everything we saw, for the most part, is real. You see personal items. I've never seen the piano, but it makes perfect sense, having seen other footage that didn't make it into the movie from Jim's dives, where you see remains of chests that still have chinaware in them. When they went into that cabin, the first thing you saw was that fireplace. That's real. The bed is real. Now then they reproduced that in the film to give you that sense of being inside. So I can see the difference in what was shot on the wreck with what was shot on set. Those are the crisper, clearer, more color in them. Whereas on Titanic, the stuff's a little bluer. And thanks to that work that Jim and the team did, we have a much better sense of the interior of Titanic that we never would have had before. I'd give this film a 10 out of 10. No way. I'd never try to thread a needle like this. It's way too tight, and all the wrecked ships would be a clear warning sign to me to not go there unless I had a really good reason. What we generally call a setting like this is a ship trap. Dangerous places where you've got a narrow passage. They're places with reefs that generally aren't seen until the last minute. And that includes spots like Bermuda and its reefs, where there's plenty of wrecks, or the dry Tortugas, famous in pirate lore, off the coast of Florida. Terrible as that is, you see sharks occasionally around wrecks because wrecks usually attract fish. For sharks, that's ringing the dinner bell. I'll give it a 3 out of 10. Whale strikes did happen, and there were angry whales that would pursue boats of whalers when they're out hunting them to take them down. What we're looking at is Hollywood's depiction of Nat Philbrick's book, In the Heart of the Sea, which tells the story of the whaler Essex, which on the Pacific in 1819 was stove, as they said, or rammed by a whale and sunk. But the whale damages more in this scene, and in a different way, than what history tells us. Owen Chase is the mate. His story, as well as the account of the captain, talk of a whale that may just have been confused. And in that, the edges of the planks held together and keeping the water out were pushed by the force. So the water began to come in, but not so fast as to immediately sink the vessel. The way they depicted things was a little more rushed. It stayed afloat for enough time to elapse so these guys could get supplies, get their boats ready, and leave without a panic. But what they're doing is absolutely right. You take sails and other things so that you can rig cover for you guys in the sun as well as sail. And the fire, that didn't happen. I'll rate the film based on Nat's book about a 7. My favorite shipwreck in a movie or a show has to be Titanic, because it's a wreck that everybody knows, and it's a wreck that has been depicted in movies throughout time. And all of them ultimately focus on why I, as an archaeologist, study shipwrecks. These are people stories, and through shipwrecks we learn more about people.